Hello, gentlemen, welcome to my channel. And today we have this super interesting box from SVOE Mesto. Ours is the original KFUNX. As always, we'll install the coils, lay the wadding, talk about various nuances, and most importantly, we'll see what the engineers have created for us. Jumping ahead a little, I can say that the bug is very interesting, specifically, in its design. I'll talk about the taste later, of course, but I'll give you a little spoiler. From an engineering standpoint, the bug is super cool. Really cool. So, make some tea, make some cookies, let's get going. And let's get to unboxing, because I'm really excited to show you all this. I've already spent some time with this tank, and I already have some impressions. Our box is just a simple cardboard box, and inside we have this box. Cool, beautiful, black. Let's open it. Here we have all sorts of papers. Let's see what we have in the envelope. Here we have all sorts of instructions. And we have some extras. And this is what the tank itself looks like. You can immediately see how well everything is made. The tank is very beautiful. I really liked it. Of course, I'll take it apart for you, because there is something to see. And the inside of the tank is very well engineered. Let's start by unscrewing the bottom part and take a look at the base itself. We'll take that apart too. We'll take everything apart down to the screw. This is what the base itself looks like. The posts are classic Kayfun ones. This company has been using these posts for quite a while now. And I like these posts. They are super perfect, superb. The only thing I can say, getting a little ahead of myself, is that the Kayfun X has these posts. They are quite small. And as you can guess, not all coils will fit here. Of course, I'll tell you which coils will fit here, but a little later. And let's probably start with this top part. Done. Well, that's just awesome. Everything is cool, awesome, everything fits perfectly. Let's unscrew this part first. This is what the dome looks like, and if you look closely, everything is done, well, really cool. Everything is painted, it's really worth the money. So, here we have a ring. Here we have glass that looks like plastic. Yes, it is plastic, but by the way, in my opinion, it could have been made of glass. It would have looked even more premium then, or something. Next we have a drip tip. The drip tip is also not quite a simple one, just an ordinary one. Here we have a cone-shaped design. Well, the drip tip is quite nice and comfortable. And then we have this lid. First, we simply open this part upward, and then we simply slide it to the side. And what I like is that this logo is, of course, visual in nature, so to speak, to highlight the company. And this is our indicator, telling us where to press next to open the lid further. And what I really like is that there's no play or wobble. Our mechanism works super cool and closes just like that. We unscrew the top lid, and we remove it like this. It's so smooth here. We have a ring here, it just comes off. There's a special pass made for it. We set it aside too. And this filling system itself, it just slides to the side. And that's how we fill it. Everything is done really well. In fact, everything is done really well. I really like this design. We have ring bearings here, and there are even two of them. One in the center, and the other one here has this complex shape, specially made for this lid. And this part here also has a platform with grooves made so that everything slides in. This is what the lid looks like. In my opinion, it really, really looks cool. And we put it back together. The top part is assembled. It looks so nice too, no wiggle room, no snagging. It works just the way it should. As you can see, we have all sorts of engravings here, specifically for the iPhone X. If you look closely, we have a screw tightened there, and that's a pretty interesting solution, one I've never seen before. The way we adjust the tightening. Here are the holes, they're always locked in place. There's no ring here, which is also really good, because nothing wobbles or wiggles. Let's take this base apart. Take something like this with a stop. And now we need to unscrew the whole thing. Okay, now we just take this part out. It's sitting pretty tightly here. We need to take it all out. We've taken it out. Next, we take this one out. And that's what the bottom part looks like. Next, we have this, let's say, skirt. It's all one piece. Here we have this insulator that comes out. Next, if you look closely, there's a nut-like thing inside. So, you can also unscrew and remove the positive post. And now we'll look at how our tightening works. It's adjusted with this screw. If we tighten it all the way, a pin comes out inside. It completely blocks the air supply. And our tightening is 0. We unscrew it, and it goes inside this rod, and our tightening is free. It's a fairly simple solution on the one hand, but it's so brilliant, and you can customize the tightening down to the microns that, damn, it's awesome. We take out this central part, this rod. Or even look at how it's made. It's not just made anyhow, it's made technologically, engineering-wise, with these cuts. That's it, we just have threads and that's it. And that's how it works, quite simply. On the one hand, it seems simple, but on the other, it's brilliant. That's it, and we screw it back in. Now let's reassemble. It's also quite easy to assemble. Just screw it back in. As we can see, it seems simple, but on the other hand, the engineers thought of something else. And look, there's another thing. Not only can we disassemble the base, which is great, cool, we can adjust the tightening. And how does our fluid shutoff work? Look, there are 2 holes there, right? And we draw fluid through this groove. Well, it turns out that like a brake, we draw fluid from, it turns out, a little from below. Yes, I'm not particularly fond of things like that. I like it when our cotton wool gets soaked on the sides, but nevertheless, overall, I can say that there are no issues with drying out if you use a small enough amount of cotton wool. Then everything will work fine. And it's through this gap that we draw fluid. And you ask, how do you shut off this fluid supply? You just need to lift the base up. And we have this gap, it closes. And when we fill the tank, we simply lower it back, and the fluid supply opens. When I got my hands on this bug, thanks to a wonderful person who let me test the whole thing. And when I got my hands on this bug, I started using it, started figuring out the design, and I got such tactile pleasure. It's just really interesting to figure it out and see how it all works, because there is something to look at. Well, cool, about installing coils. Everything is simple here, so there is nothing to say here, let's say, because everything is simple here. My favorite classic struts. What about installing coils? Well, take a look. Zero diesel is also available from my assortment. Subscribe to the Telegram channel. And if you look, the zero diesel fits perfectly between the struts. Zero diesel. It's quite small among diesels, perhaps even the smallest is the 0.7 diesel, it's a bit wider. So, the 0N diesel is super ideal. I recently installed a 0.6 diesel. This turns out to be a classic MTL, but I'm still interested in trying a 0.37 diesel. You can also install a 0L4 diesel, but the 0L4 diesel will still be a bit wide, considering that our racks are quite small, so, well, either we install them at an angle, diagonally, or, of course, it will become a little, well, crooked. I'm not particularly fond of things like that. I want everything to be aesthetically straight and beautiful. What other coils can I put here? The 0.6 stager from my assortment, again. I repeat, Mamba. Well, damn, it's also quite wide, but in terms of size, like the star, everything will fit here just fine. I used 0.6 grams, but minus the coil. And regarding the Mamba, I would still recommend unwinding the coil. Although, of course, I forbid my clients to do this, because unwinding the legs is not recommended, as it deforms the coil. So it's better to let me know in advance that I'm high, so please make coils for me for high. I installed a stager and unwound the coil. And I liked it. The taste was also great. The flavor turned out so smooth, because on diesel it's still so powerful, but everyone has their own taste. I like it when our flavor is super powerful. Now let's talk about flavor. The tank gives off amazing flavor. Well, I can say it's amazing, but I can't say it's the standard, but it's close to the standard, because our evaporation chamber is small, our base is small, and, well, everything is just really cool. One more thing. Usually, when we install a coil, I recommend lowering it low above the airflow. Here, when we simply position it level, it immediately becomes low above the airflow. So, everyone already knows that the lower you position it, the more flavor, right? So, let's say there are tanks with central airflow, which is recessed, so we need to lower the coil quite a bit as well. Here, the engineers, so to speak, thought about it and made it level right away. And they raised our central airflow so we didn't have to do anything with the coil. Yes, it's not that big of a deal to move the coil under or lower it, but nevertheless, it's pretty cool that you just put the coil in and that's it, and you don't have to do anything else. That's awesome. And now we need to trim it all down. We're trying to make sure nothing sticks out. We're trimming the legs so they're flush. That's it. This is the beauty we've got. And as we can see, 0.37 diesel. It's quite narrow, right? Someone's about to write, Coco 0.37 diesel in a mount tank. Let me repeat, in case anyone didn't know, you never know, there's a concept called metal mass. Resistance is 0.37 ohms. I agree. For some, low resistance may be considered low. Well, if, let's say, we compare, as many are accustomed to, that MTL is 0.7 ohms. So, let's put it this way, I don't want to offend anyone, but I've seen coils where the resistance is listed as 0.7 ohms, but they're like a giant mess. Firstly, that giant mess won't fit in a tank like this. And secondly, because we have a ton of turns, the metal mass itself is large, right? Therefore, we need more power to heat up that giant mess. And 0.37 ohms is small, so 10 to 15 watts is enough for this coil to work perfectly. So, please tell me, those who comment that 0.37 ohms isn't MT resistance, or at least isn't suitable for low power. 0.7 ohms is exactly that. And it's perfect because the coil has such inertia. It starts up quickly and cools down quickly due to the small mass of metal. Slow cooling is also bad, as the cotton wool can dry out at certain points and then burn a little. Another point is that when we have a long coil, a sausage-like structure with many turns, we experience a kind of starvation in the center of the coil. It takes time for the liquid to flow into the coil, and we know that the liquid heats up from the center, so the center of the coil will always dry out a little, over-drying the cotton. And with a narrow cone, it quickly gets saturated, and honestly, I see only big advantages, because the mass is small, the size is small, and it's narrow, you can use it in a Kayfun. So before you comment that Kokoku 0.37 ohms isn't MT resistance, although then again, who sets those limits? It's not about resistance, but about the power we're using it at. And in terms of temperature, this coil, despite this resistance, doesn't get hot because it's small. Now we'll start burning. We're setting it to 8 watts. We could even set it to 7, because ours is quite small. And to avoid burning anything out, it's best to lower the power. Take the ceramic tweezers, as always, and begin heating slowly. Our racks, as I already said, are some of my favorites. They're very convenient and comfortable. It's a pleasure to work with them. And so, let's start to sum things up a bit, so to speak. Our tank is very well engineered, with its own unique features, with its own nuances, in a good way, of course. And what I also like is that the racks, well, they haven't changed much over the years. Actually, if you think back, I had my third Minifun, but unfortunately, it wasn't the original. And I had my fifth Minifun. And as far as I remember, these racks, I think, were practically the first company to invent their own place, these racks of this type. Then, it turns out, everyone started copying these pods a bit, because the pods are really great, I'd say they're practically benchmarks. And I like that the company doesn't make their products worse, but only improves them. They're tweaking some things, and some things are simply better from an engineering standpoint, because Kayfuns used to just have a top cap for filling. The cap was simply threaded, it just unscrewed and that was it, but now they've done it this way. Regarding my specific vaping habits, I personally would like the pods to be a little wider. Just a little wider, so that my favorite 0-liter diesel would fit in there without any problems. That would be really cool, of course. I'd really like to have a design like this and use my favorite coils. That would be really cool. After it's warmed up, you can increase the power a little. For example, I'll set it to 13W, and then we start warming it up again. I love this kind of thing. Burning coils is actually a pleasure, because the process is always accompanied by such a beautiful color. And even just visually, it's even pleasant to look at. And to be sure, let's add another 17W and see how it all heats up. Yep. Here again, we still need to adjust this whole thing a little. After we increase the power, short circuits appear again. Now I like it. Now we'll lay down the cotton wool. We start pushing it in. Twist it a little. We try to make sure our coil doesn't move at all. Again, 0.37 diesel is made of fairly thick wires, well, compared to 0.6, so it's not so easy to move it. But, for example, 0.6 diesel is a very soft coil because it's made of thin wires. Therefore, when we push the cotton wool in, the turns can shift slightly, and then, of course, a short circuit will appear. We don't leave the cotton tails very long, just small ones because we have a shallow tub for our tails, so we don't need long tails. Of course, as always, I need to fluff them up a little. I'll comb them out, just a tiny bit. I still like it when my coil chokes, which is bad, but I like to find an edge where it feels like, after the tank sits, it overflows a little. It overflows a little, but after just 2 or 3 puffs, that overflow goes away. But I always feel like my cotton and coil are always well moistened. I don't like it when the cotton is very dry, when it constantly dries out, it loses flavor. If you're lacking taste, try laying the wadding out differently. There's a combination of factors. The flow rate. If the coil heats up evenly from the center, it works across its entire surface area and evaporates liquid across its entire surface. And if the wadding is laid out correctly and has good flow capacity, the coil provides a consistent liquid supply. This creates a connection so that the coil operates properly without short-circuiting, and the wadding also delivers liquid well to the coil. But if we misplace the wadding, move the coil, or don't completely remove short circuits, these short circuits can reoccur. Consequently, the coil won't operate at its full capacity. That is, it will heat up, roughly speaking, from halfway, perhaps toward one edge. Consequently, there will be a loss of performance and a loss of flavor. So, always keep a close eye on all of this. As we can see, it looks beautiful. And it's all very simple. Our racks are classic, and our wadding is also, you could say, classic, Konov style. Everything is very simple to do, so we can get started. Now we can assemble everything and finally try it all out. The most important thing is why we're doing all this. It domes and screws in without any problems. Again, I want to repeat this over and over again. How great the threads are and how well this bug is made. Using this tank is simply a pleasure. And now, to fill it up, we need to lift this part up. And look how it all works. If you listen closely, you can see how well it works. No play, nothing unnecessary. Simply super perfect. Here too, when this mechanism is folded, but here this ring, it's, well, not just a little bit, literally it moves. Just a little bit back and forth, but again, it doesn't wobble, nothing unnecessary happens, everything is great. Now let's fill it. Lift it and move it. And you're ready to fill it. The only thing is, of course, it's a little awkward to fill. Here's part of the can, it, of course, rests against it and it's a little awkward, but overall, it's quite easy to fill it. We've seen tanks worse in this regard. That's it, we've filled it. Now we just take it and lower the bottom part down as well. And now we have an open liquid supply. And now let's try this bug. Or rather, I will try it. Of course, all these weeks when I was testing this bug, I, of course, already tried it, but of course, I also want to try it again, because now the most important thing is about taste. The flavor of this tank is simply amazing. The e-liquids I always vape seem to impart slightly different notes, nuances, and a small evaporation chamber. The flavor is simply sublime. As for the TH, I was once told in the comments that it's about the TH. Well, in reality, TH depends more on the strength of our flavorings and the coils. And, of course, most importantly, on our perception. Everyone has a different perception. So, I can say that the Kayfun X has a pretty good TH because our draw is quite tight and the evaporation chamber is small, so our ITH is, well, decent. For me, this is very important. So, there's even a combination of successful solutions here. We have a super magnificent design, super cool flavor, amazing, and as a bonus, a good, accurate TH. For me, I don't know how it will be for you, but I feel the TX is very good. So let's summarize a little. From an engineering standpoint, this is a super cool bug. Very interesting, very intriguing. It's all very, very interesting to understand and to look at, to observe how it all works. It's great to interact with. The bug is super well done. The fit of all the parts, all the components, is top-notch. If you get the chance to find an original X and try it out, go ahead and give it a try. It's definitely worth it, because we've been given so much interesting stuff here. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, let me know what you think of this tank, what you think of the engineering, how you like the design, whether you like it or not. Maybe someone else has a similar bug. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you think. Have a wonderful time everyone. And, of course, most importantly, delicious steam. Bye everyone.